Hey, what's going on, everyone? So, I am here at Miami Airport, and I know this is going to be a weird way to start the video, but it is kind of an important one. So, I am here in Miami, and as you guys know, or maybe you guys don't, I'm from Texas, and I'm here actually picking up a new car, or new car to me. So anyway, I just wanted to film this intro, and I'll catch you guys up here in a little bit. Hey everyone, so I'm back. I'm actually in the car that I bought now. I didn't want to film in front of the seller of the car. It's a little awkward for me still. Me being in front of the camera is still awkward as well. So, I don't know if you guys can tell by the back of the car of what I bought, but I think I mentioned in my intro that I sold my Rx7. And if I didn't, I sold my Rx7. I had no intentions of doing it, but it was one of those things where if it happened, it happened. If a potential buyer hit me with a certain number, I'd sell it. And so I made a little bit of money off of it. I got to drive it, not too bad. So, I've always had like kind of a sports car or a toy car type of thing. And I was a little tired of having like a 90s car, early 2000s, something real plasticky, that type of thing. I kind of like it when you go cruising with a buddy or something that you have all the modern feature comforts. So I set a budget that I didn't want to go over and started shopping. And so I looked at like the BMW M4, the M2, the new Supra, and then this car, which I'll reveal to you here in a second. Again, I'm sure you guys probably already know. So just to give you some impressions of the cars that I did drive, the M4, M2, great cars, solid, drove really well, but I think me personally having kind of that German stigma of certain type of maintenance and electronics and things I just wasn't too familiar with, I didn't want to take that leap, though they are fantastic cars. So me looking at that kind of touring, luxury, sports, coupe, I couldn't help but look at the Lexus RCF, which is something I drove maybe a year or two ago. There was a Lexus Performance Drive event, and I drove an RCF, and I really, really liked it. That V8 sound is great. I will have to say somewhat inferior to the M4 and M2 just by feel and how tight everything was, but not too far off. After driving the RCF and kind of tossing around that idea of, yeah, I'm probably going to get one, I thought about it, and I think one of the biggest things was I wanted a manual transmission, right? And I know now the dual clutches and whatever paddle shifter technology they have, they're faster than anything I could ever do manually, but I think it's just fun running through the gears. So with that being said, the 370Z kind of crossed my mind. I had a 350 in the past, and I didn't care for the interior very much, though the car was, fun in itself. I think the 370Z kind of remedied a lot of those issues. So I looked at 370Z, but the configuration I wanted, which was a sport technology package with the touring, so basically fully loaded. I prefer the earlier look, so that I think that was like 2009 to 12. So I wanted 2012 with fully loaded. I wanted white, and I wanted either gray interior or that kind of basketball orange. And the name escapes me right now, cognac or whatever color interior. And I think I found one, but they wanted like 18 or 19. And I'm like, man, for 20 grandish, I wouldn't want to buy a 370Z. So more power to those that own one that can hold value for certain trims, but I didn't want to spend that kind of money for that car. No disrespect at all. It just wasn't what I was looking for, though. So I couldn't help but look at a Corvette C7. I think the C6s, when they started catching my attention. I'm not a vet guy, not one bit, though I have crazy respect for them. Their heritage and what they represent. So even though I'm not a Corvette fanboy, I have the utmost respect for them. So the C6 C6 generation caught my eye when they went to fix headlights. I'm like, man, they're looking pretty good. But the interior was not something that I was totally psyched about. My neighbor had one, and I drove it. It was nice, but it was never anything that I could picture myself in. So fast forward to now, the C7s, when they were released, I really liked the way they look. Never sat in one until I started shopping, and when I started trying to do my research, read reviews, and all the other stuff about them, a lot of the reviewers, magazine companies, they're like, the C7 really stepped up their game. GM really did a good job with the interior. They put more thought into it. So I figured, why not go test drive one? And they come manual, right? So I think, yeah, you have an iconic sports car that still has a manual transmission, and I know Porsche still does too. But Porsche is just outside of my wheelhouse as far as price range. I know what I would want is something I probably wouldn't be able to afford, especially being kind of a toy car, right? Something I wouldn't be driving very much, so I couldn't make much sense of looking at the P cars, though I know those are phenomenal cars. So I drove a C7 convertible. That was just the closest one to me to be able to get me in the car and see if I like it. Again, I think the C7 is a beautiful car, right? Aesthetically, it's awesome. So you didn't have to sell me on that point. But driving a convertible, I was a little indifferent, right? The interior looked good. The display screen looked okay. The tactile feels of some of the buttons were all right, but I didn't like the road noise and a couple other items. So I kind of passed on getting a Vet, and then for some reason I went back and drove the coupe, which is what I would be driving anyway. So it turned out that same dealership had a coupe come in not too long after, so I was able to go back and drive a coupe, and I was totally blown away. Great car, right? It feels solid. I think the build quality is pretty good, though I know for different trim levels, which I might get into a different video later about why I chose it a little more in depth and some of the researchy things maybe to help other potential buyers get into. But I know a C7 has its nuances, and it comes with some things that are found all across the board with these cars, and I was a little prepared for them. But I think overall it was a great car. Feels really good. Again, I'll say it's 7-speed transmission, manual transmission. And for the price point, I think the earlier Stingrays or Z51s, they're pretty fair, right? And I think Corvettes in general, their resale value, unless they are some kind of super rare model, you can find them for a good price, and a lot of the owners take care of them. They're usually garage queens. So without further ado, I picked up a 2014 Z51 3LT. And I don't know how well this is coming across, but I happened to find one out in Florida that is the Lime Rock Green, right? So initially my goal was to get a 2016. I wanted to stay away from early production years because I know with any manufacturer, right, not trying to dog GM in any way, that they come with bugs, and it always takes a year or two to figure them out. So in my head, maybe 2016, 2017, and that put me around the price range of maybe around 44, 45, because I wanted the Z51 package, which is like larger brakes, dry sump, basically a performance package, and I wanted at least a 2LT, which would mean like it has a little bit more creature comforts, some of the leather, heads-up display, and I'll get into specifics some other time. That was my idea. 17, 2LT, around 45, and I wanted like an Arctic white with red interior, or Kalahari, which is like a tan, or a nice off brown. So, with that being said, I couldn't help but look at some 2014s because they were just so cheap. And again, most Corvettes are low mileage, right? So I was scrolling through Car Gurus, and then I saw a green one pop up, and I've never seen a green one. And again, I'm not a Corvette fanboy, so I don't know the that's really good looking. And upon research, in 2014, they have a color called Lime Rock Green, and that was only made for that year. And I was just kind of blown away. I think production numbers were kind of small. There was like a premiere edition that had a few, and then they sold it on regular Stingrays and Z51s, but there weren't many. I think a lot of people liked the color, but just never ended up buying them. So I saw the green, I really liked it, and part of me is, if I buy something, it'll have to be something I enjoy, right? It'll be something I really like. So I couldn't help but, you know, do research on it and look at it some more. I contacted the seller. Another nice thing is that this car, as you can kind of tell maybe from the camera, it has like a brownstone interior, which is not super rare, but it's kind of hard to find. And it's got suede, which isn't offered on all the interior color trims, if I remember right. Like, I don't think red offers a suede option. So with that being said, green with this beautiful brown interior, 3LT, which is fully loaded with navigation, for a far less price than what I wanted to spend on a 17 2LT, I was willing to give the trade-off, right? And so, speaking with the seller, I had in confidence that the car ran, and it is running, right? So again, I don't know if you guys can see around me or paid that much attention to the background, but I am driving home from Florida, and it's solid. Now, I do notice some of the dash trim coming up a little bit, and I think that happens on a lot of 3LTs. Let me correct myself. On the forum, it's a known problem, and whether or not it happens to a lot of people or not, there are multiple threads on it. So I kind of knew what I was getting myself in for, and since the leather lifting isn't really bad right now, I can only assume two things. One will be either the car's been maintained so well that in a garage with sunshade and all this other stuff that it hasn't progressed very far, even though I've read otherwise, that people who do the same, their dashes just delaminate and go crazy, or this is as far as it's going to go, right? So I'm going to try to address, and I'll make a video on what I'm going to try and do to try and fix the problem. And again, if it gets worse, or if I mess up something, it's going to get replaced anyway, so I might as well take a shot at it. I do notice also that this car has a screen flicker on the navigation. If it's not doing it now, it's relatively intermittent, but that also is, I don't want to say a common problem, but it is a problem that members are aware of on the boards, and that's mainly due to so here, I'm not going to press it because I'm sure it's going to make it worse. There's a screen button there, and when you press that, the screen actually goes down. And there's a nice little cubby back there with a USB, so you can leave your phone charging or keep some of your valuables. And I think there's a cable that gets pinched over and over and over again, and over time loses a connection. I can continue to ramble about a lot of different things with the car, and that's probably going to be a different video. I'm not going to do 5 things I like or don't like, but I'll probably just put out common things that I notice about the car that kind of bugs me. But overall, I think GM released a pretty nice car for what it is, and for me to have an early production model and have the common problems everybody else does, and I think some of those problems even go up to 16 or 17 anyway, so who knows if I would have avoided them. I'm genuinely impressed. The idea of having a Corvette and what they represent is really neat, and I'm totally blown away with the C7 engineering, right? So when you think Mustang, sometimes you think, oh, those are, you whomp on the gas, you end up in a ditch. Corvette, you think these are piss poor built cars, but they've got pretty good motors. That's not the case in my general impression here. I've been in the car 8 hours, and this is actually my second day on the road. I was so tired I didn't pick up the camera. So I've had seat time in the car and steady seat time, right? It isn't me just hopping in and out, going to the grocery store or whatever. So it's like I have time to look at the car to see what really stands out about it and not. So just wanted to update you guys, and I'll probably hit you back whenever I stop.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? So I am back home here in Houston, and the car made it back just fine. So this is the first video on the outside of the car. I kind of forget where I left off because it's been a day or two, but I know I mentioned the color, which I really liked, and so this is that lime rock green. It's a very, very deep green, right? And it's got metallic flake in it. The car's kind of dirty, but it's just really freaking awesome in my opinion. It gives off a slightly more refined vibe. I'm not saying a yellow Corvette is any different, but coupled with this brownstone interior, which I mentioned earlier, so you have green and brown, kind of a grown man sports car. It's pretty neat. I'm gonna keep this one kind of brief, just because I kind of wanted to get into, or I don't have a too big of an agenda, but I wanted to try and lower the back. So the neat thing about these Corvettes are they're lowering bolts on them, and I think the front looks pretty lowered. The back, I'm going to see if I can take that down some. But anyway, besides the cool color of the car, this is a Z51, right? So you have the 1-inch larger brakes from the regular Stingray, and you also, I have the 19 20-inch. I think that's standard on the Z51. Also, these side vents, they are actually functional, right? So you've got one for the transmission and the other one for the e-diff. Now, specifically about this car, that I found it was a decent value was because of the front splitter, the side skirts, and the rear diffuser isn't something I probably would have done. However, because it is done, it doesn't look bad, but that's value to me. It also has that short shifter, and it's in relatively good shape. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a pretty clean car. I really enjoy it, and spending a few days on the road driving about 5 to 6 hours a day, it really I think I've mentioned it, it gives you time to really see the issues, or you know, what you like and what you don't like. And again, I'll probably make a video about that more in depth, but overall the car's home. It's pretty neat. It's kind of I can't say it was a dream of mine to ever own a Corvette. However, it is a very iconic car with a great heritage, so I'm absolutely fortunate, lucky to be able to say that I own one. So it's really freaking cool. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll probably be back soon, because again, I'm gonna see if I can lower the rear. Thanks guys, good luck.